Hello, aspirants, and welcome. India's population is a story of massive change. And if you want to ace your exams, you've got to understand its journey. So in this explainer, we're going to break down all the key demographic shifts, looking at the data and the concepts that tell the real story of India's future. Let's just start with a huge number, 1.7 billion. That's the projected peak for India's population, which we're expecting to hit sometime around the 2060s. But, that single number is just the headline. To really get what's going on, we need to look underneath the surface. Exactly, because that headline number really doesn't tell the whole story. The truth is, population growth is already slowing down, and fast. It's in those details, those nuances, that we find the most important trends for your exams. All right, let's dive right in. So, here's our roadmap. We'll look at India becoming the world's most populous nation, the incredible drop in fertility, what's happening with the youth bulge, the big health transition, and how mortality is changing. And make sure you stick around for the end. We're going to wrap it all up with a consolidated summary that is perfect for your last-minute revision. Okay, first up, the big one. India surpassing China to become the world's most populous nation. But the real story here, the one you need to focus on, isn't just about the size. It's about the pace of that change. Now, what's really fascinating here is not just the total population number, but how quickly the rate of growth is slowing down. Just look at this data. Back in the 50s, growth was over 2% a year. Now, it's fallen below 1%. We're adding way fewer people each year than we were just 2 decades ago. And by 2060, the projection is that growth will stop completely. That right there is a fundamental shift. And this brings us to a critical concept for your exams, the North-South demographic divide. You see, population growth in the southern and western states, like Kerala, started to slow way back in the 80s. Now, almost all of India's future growth is going to come from the northern and eastern states, like Bihar and UP. This divergence is so important. It affects everything from policy to politics. It's like 2 different Indias unfolding at once. So, what's driving this big slowdown? Well, let's get to the primary driver, falling fertility rates. This is the engine behind India's entire demographic transition. First, let's nail down a key term you absolutely have to know: total fertility rate, or TFR. It's pretty simple. It's the average number of children a woman will have in her lifetime. Now, the magic number here is 2.1. That's what we call the replacement level. It's the rate where a population basically replaces itself from one generation to the next. Okay, so here is the crucial point, the main event. India's national TFR is now 1.9. This is a huge landmark moment. The country is officially below the replacement level of 2.1. This means that old narrative you hear about a population explosion, well, it's completely out of date. And get this isn't just an urban thing. Even in rural India, the TFR has now hit that replacement level. This is such a key fact because it shows you just how deep and how widespread this trend has become across the entire country. Right? So this dramatic fall in fertility has a direct knock-on effect on India's age structure. And that brings us to a concept you've probably heard a million times, the famous demographic dividend. I mean, the change is just stark. The share of children under 14 in the population has literally been cut in half since the 1960s. It's simple, right? Fewer births mean a smaller base for the population pyramid. And this, of course, leads us to another core concept, the demographic dividend. It's that potential economic boost a country can get when it has a huge chunk of its population in the working ages compared to the younger and older dependents. And this is the key takeaway, and it's a real matter of urgency, that window of opportunity, it's closing. The share of India's working age population is set to peak in just the next 2 to 3 years. The time to capitalize on this dividend, well, it's right now. The clock is ticking. This brings us to a related idea you should know, the dependency ratio. It's a simple measure of the ratio of dependents, so that's kids and the elderly, to the people of working age who have to support them. And look at this, that north-south divide pops up again, creating completely opposite challenges. In the north, with their big youth populations, the ratio will probably fall as those young people enter the workforce. But in the south, the ratio is set to rise as their populations get older, creating a bigger burden from the elderly. These are 2 completely different futures unfolding inside one country. Okay, let's shift gears. As India's population structure changes, the health challenges the country faces are also changing, and in a really fundamental way. This is another critical transition you need to grasp. This big shift has a name, and it's a very important term for your notes: the epidemiological transition. It's the move away from deaths caused by infectious or communicable diseases, like malaria, towards deaths from chronic, non-communicable diseases, things like heart disease and cancer. The World Health Organization groups causes of death into three main types. Now, here's a simple mnemonic to help you remember them for your exam. Just think of the word sin. C is for communicable diseases, I is for injuries, and N is for non-communicable diseases. Sin. It's a super easy way to recall this framework. So let's see how these big health changes, combined with a population that's getting older, are affecting the patterns of mortality across India. The story of mortality in India is, first and foremost, a story of incredible success. I mean, life expectancy has shot up from under 50 to over 70, and deaths in early childhood have just plummeted from over half of all deaths to less than 10% today. But here's the paradox. Because the population as a whole is now aging, the overall death rate is actually projected to start rising again. And here is a powerful, powerful fact to remember. A great one to quote in your answers. It highlights the incredible progress in some states. In Kerala, the infant mortality rate is now so low, we're talking comparable to parts of Northern Europe, that a newborn is actually at a lower risk of death than the general population. That really shows you the peak of India's health transition in action. Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's do this. Let's consolidate everything into a single cheat sheet for your final revision. No distractions, just the core facts you absolutely need to have at your fingertips. Go ahead and screenshot this, write it down, do whatever you need to do to commit it to memory. These are the absolute essential takeaways. We've got the peak population, the TFR below replacement level, the closing demographic window, the crucial north-south divide, the health transition, that mortality paradox, and of course the key example from Kerala. This is your master summary right here. So, we'll leave you with this final thought, a question that is going to be at the very heart of India's political and economic debates for decades. How on earth do you govern a country that is simultaneously young and growing in some parts while rapidly aging in others? It is a huge, huge challenge to think about. Good luck with all your preparation.